Hey everybody, this is my 5 to 10 minute screencast-o-matic video that explores, explains, and examines the 3SB lesson plan and has at least one example to correlate it with. So I have here this geography one that was given to us. It was the first social science reference that Ginsberg gave to us from his last year's 3SB student. I don't remember her name, but she did a really good job through it, so I'm going to use that as a side-by-side comparison with the blank lesson template and then the filled out one. So to begin with, she just filled out the simple duration of lesson, grade level, and subject. She makes sure to fill that out, so 55 minutes, 9th grade, and geography. Pretty simple, very simple. And then it goes to the central focus of the unit. So she first started off with the essential learning strategy focus. So what the students are going to do with their literacy skills, whether it is reading, writing, speaking, whatever it is, she wrote it right here. And then the related skills, there's other related skills that they'll use during the lesson that are focused around the content. And then the content focus, which is really how the lesson is developed around the main focus of what she wants the students to understand by the end of the lesson plan. And then the standards here, she has the National Geography Standards, Sweetwater Unified Geography Standards. So she was in the Sweetwater District. And then the CCSS, the Common Core Social Science Standard, which all of us should be understanding of and aware of. And then I don't see any EL standards, so she might not have had any EL students in her classroom, but if you have even one or more EL students, then you have to incorporate some EL standards that will involve the EL students in your classroom. To continue, we have the instructional learning objectives. So what she wants each student to get and how she's going to assess them during the lesson plan. So the two main ones she has here are students will determine how the impacts of the Industrial Revolution have affected different parts of the world. And she's not using a formal assessment in this, she's using an informal assessment, so she's not getting any materials or anything turned into her, but she's getting an informal check from her students of understanding with a discussion, with the whole class discussion at the end of the class. And then students will be able to explain why the Industrial Revolution impacted the world differently and why it is important to both know and care about such impacts. So this she's actually assessing formally by having students complete a case study that they'll turn in, and she'll be able to check for understanding through that. And then we have here the language function and demand. So in language functions, it's basically wanting you to list one language function essential for students to develop and practice the literacy strategy within your central focus. So what she did was she only listed one, which was explaining, which is a very key language function. And then the additional language demands, which is like vocabulary, syntax, discourse, all of those. She has academic vocabulary and syntax in hers. So academic vocabulary is the key concepts and words that the students might not know of before the lesson plan, but that she wants them to understand by the end of the lesson plan. So hers is global implications, regionally versus nationally, and stakeholder. And then she also has the syntax here as well. So the where, why there, why care chart, and the case study analysis chart. The student's prior knowledge is very simple. It has just like what they should have known from previous lessons. So even yesterday, like the day before or the week before, any content that is correlated with this new content that you're bringing and building connections from that. So the previous lessons for hers focus on the origins of the Industrial Revolution and the underlying differences between developed nation and developing nation. So she has a brief and structured base of what the Industrial Revolution is for students prior to the lesson plan. And then I think I skipped over resources and materials, so that's really brief. It's just the materials and resources that you're going to use during the lesson plan, so you need to list them. Hers are the standard of living booklets and the case study analysis charts that she's obviously going to hand out to her students. And then moving on to our introduction and anticipatory set, it's pretty much a brief introduction of the content and a hook. That's what's going to get the students engaged, actively engaged in the content and interested in what's going to be presented to them. So it can be like 5 to 10 minutes, just a quick little activity for the students to be able to get to know what they're about to be learning about. So then it goes to focus instructions. So what the teacher, it's the I do portion. So your instruction, it can be a lesson plan, or it can be a PowerPoint, it can be just something brief to get the students to understand the content, and you're kind of just giving them the content yourself before you really dive in deep to the content. So what she did was she had students pair up to work together for this activity. She didn't have necessarily a PowerPoint for them, but she will pass out the case study analysis chart and explain how it is formatted and why the students are expected to do. She will pass out the standard of living booklet to each pair, so pretty just really simple form focused instruction. And then she had a differentiating scaffolds, which is super important, which is pretty much how she's going to have differentiation for students who need a little bit more help than others, or have maybe a learning disability or something along that range, something that's going to help them get the content more accessible for them. And then we have here the guided instruction practice, which is the we do portion where the teacher and the student will do. It basically, for her, she has each pair of students will be assigned one case study for each booklet. They will read the case study and discuss it with a partner and work together to complete the analysis chart. So she has them working in groups, working together to kind of get an understanding of the content. And she also has another differentiating scaffold in here, which is important to give to her individual students to get access to the knowledge and content. And then here we have the independent practice, which is they do. So like at this point, they got a strong basis or a base for the content. They understand it, and now it's their turn to have their own explanations and have their own thoughts about the content. So in the independent practice she had, each pair of students will give a brief description of their case study. They will share a few details from the information they gathered with the rest of the class. The students not speaking will be required to take notes. So this, she really incorporates all of the students. So if the students aren't comfortable speaking in front of the group, she makes sure that they're involved by taking notes and making sure that they have checks for understanding as well. And then the last is the closure. How will you bring closure to this activity lesson? How will you transition? So pretty much just the ending it could be like a little 5-minute little thing that the teacher can do to kind of close the lesson plan, finish it up, and then kind of transition to what's going to happen to the next lesson that they're going to be doing. So she said, I will ask the daily inquiry question. So she goes back to her kind of central focus is how have the impacts of the Industrial Revolution affected different parts of the world. And she said, I will call on students to share their thoughts after having read and listening to multiple case studies on the subject. So here she just goes back to the central focus, finishes up the lesson. She doesn't really go into what they'll be learning the next day, but she definitely kind of caps off the lesson plan and finishes it there. So that is my brief 5 to 10 minute screencast-o-matic video that explores the 3SB lesson plan. I hope you guys enjoyed it and kind of got the information you needed from it. So thank you very much and have a great day.